Yeah, we're starting recording. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the final activity of International Education Week. Today, we're hosting a live cooking class with Dr. Dyer and Dr. Cesar, who are going to be cooking veggie ramen and Trini veggie rice. And they're going to give us an introduction to what has inspired them to cook these two dishes for us today and actually tell you how to cook it. So without any further ado, I'm going to hand over to our lovely chefs.
Thank you so much, Ali. Hello, everybody. I'm Nazli Dyer. I am the Executive Director for Data Analytics and Institutional Research at UHD. But today, I am Chef Dyer. I think chef is a strong word for what I do. But we wanted to do these two really easy, kind of comforting recipes that are pretty inexpensive because we're in a pandemic and Thanksgiving is next week. And so nobody wants to be making kind of like extravagant things this week, right? We all want things that are simple, easy to make, comforting. I also looked up just a brief history of ramen. This was one of my tasks that Ali said I needed to do. My background, I'm Persian, I'm from Iran, and so ramen is not a cultural dish for me, but it's something that I really enjoy making. It's something that's very easy. I have a 1-year-old, and so it's a fast, late night. We just got her to bed, and it's time to make something for dinner. This is that kind of a recipe for us. We go to it quite often. But I pulled up a couple of things about ramen I just wanted to share with you. So there's actually a person, a professor at NYU, and he wrote his entire dissertation on ramen. So I'm not the only crazy one. Like, people love ramen. It's just like a comforting thing. And his dissertation was entitled "Taking Ramen Seriously: Food, Labor, and Everyday Life in Modern Japan." And so what I've learned about ramen over the last week is that it actually originated in China and came to Japan from a series of Chinese cooks that brought it to Japan. And initially it was called Shina soba, which means China buckwheat noodles. And it became one of the most popular Chinese dishes in Japan. And so that was kind of like the first form of ramen, but over the years it has evolved. And it led to the popular version that we know as instant ramen, cup of noodle, or those variety. And so instant ramen was created by somebody named Momofuku Ando was his name, and he created this after World War II to help feed the survivors of the atomic bombs Hiroshima and Nagasaki. He realized it was a very comforting food, and he wanted to be able to create a quick version that people didn't have to wait in line for. So it was a huge hit because it's delicious, it's cheap, it's easy to make, and it came to America in the early 1970s as cup of noodle, which we all grew up with, we all grew up eating. And so the version that I'm going to be making today is a kind of souped up, not to be punny, but a souped up version of instant ramen. And the reason I like it is because when you're exhausted, but you want to make something quick, you get some veggies. There's an egg involved that you can get some protein. But you can add the nice thing about recipes like this is you can add anything you like to it. It's very versatile. If you like chicken, if you like pork, many times you get this in the restaurants. That's not what this version is, by the way. That's a fancy pants version. That's not what I'm making. I think that takes hours to make. The broth stews over a long period of time. That's not this. So I'm sorry if I've dashed any of your dreams for that kind of ramen, but go to the restaurants and get that ramen. It's delicious. This is kind of the quick, easy version. You can use any vegetables you want. Typically, when I make this, I use mushroom and I use carrot, but I've made it with spinach. I've made it with broccoli, squash, anything you have. It's kind of a nice kitchen dump, like whatever you've got that's going bad in your fridge. Use that in this recipe as far as you like it. You can omit anything. You don't have to put mushrooms or carrots. If you don't like jalapeno, you don't have to use it. So I really like that about this recipe. It's very versatile. You can take away anything that you like. You can adjust the spice level, the salt level. That's another tip. While you're making ramen, I recommend filling up an entire thing of water and drink it while you're making it because it's quite salty. So you want to kind of counter that effect, or just don't use as much of the soy sauce and things. So, oh, sorry, I've talked a lot. I'm gonna. This is Dr. Caesar. She is my dear friend, my mentor, and she, unfortunately for her, agreed to join this journey with me on this cooking show. So,
So hi, good morning. I'm not sure if it's morning or afternoon, but good afternoon. My name is Gemma Caesar, and I am the director of the Gator Success Center at the University of Houston downtown. I have the distinct pleasure of working with Nasli as well as cooking with Nasli. So we have done a lot of Zoom cooking and throughout the pandemic. But today, my dish is vegetable rice Trini-style. So the reason why I chose vegetable rice is because I am from Trinidad and Tobago, and Trinidad and Tobago is a small island in the West Indies. Really, a lot of the natives of Trinidad and Tobago came from different countries. So rice was one of our main dish, or it still is one of the main dish that we eat in Trinidad and Tobago. And it's Trini style because we use any vegetables that we have growing at that time. So today I'm using carrots and bell peppers and ginger and anything that you want. So if in our country, some people like to use homemade celery, they like to use mushrooms and anything, corn. We grow a lot of corn in Trinidad as well. You can use that for your veggie rice. Rice came from the Indians. Many, many years ago, I was not like my friend and colleague here who did a research to tell you who brought it to Trinidad, but I know it was brought by Indians. We have a lot of Indians living in Trinidad and Tobago, and they planted rice. So rice was really, really cheap to use, just like ramen is cheap to use. So we use rice in a lot of our main dish. What else can I say about? When I was going to college, I love cooking. And I prefer to cook my food and buy it in a restaurant. So one of the things, cooking rice in many different forms, that was relatively cheap for me. So I cook rice all the time. And it's one of my comfort food as well. So I hope you enjoy this recipe. And I look forward to answering any questions that you have. And again, this using veggie rice, for those who are vegetarians, you can use tofu as one of your side dish, or people like grilled shrimp, they can use that as well. I like it with baked chicken. So we didn't do baked chicken today because Ali thought it was going to be too much for those of you who are cooking with us. But next time that we are hired to do this, free of charge, we are going to do some baked chicken. Okay. Welcome to our show.
Welcome to our show. I just want to give a quick shout out to the cameraman, who is my husband, Matt. He's a redhead. We don't hold that against him, but he is, we did a whole setup so that he's kind of learned on the go. So if the video is a bit choppy, we apologize, but he's not getting paid either. So he's just having this kind of a meal as his form of payment.
So I'm gonna move away,
okay.
So give you some space.
Is anybody actually cooking with us today, or is everybody just kind of watching to get a sense for how to do this in the future?
Learning
Learning
how to do it. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure I don't need to review anybody's dishes as we go. So, okay, cool. First, I'll show you. I think we can. So we are being very safe. We're wearing masks, but when we're each cooking, we're going to take it off and stay socially distanced. I will go ahead and take my mask off. And these aprons, sweet aprons, have little pockets that we will be using. These were courtesy of Study Abroad, so thank you, Ali, for allowing us to do this. I just want to show you a spread of what we have. So this is just a package of instant ramen. You can use any instant ramen that you find in the supermarket. I like this brand because the seasoning that comes with it, it's nice and spicy, but you can use top ramen, cup of noodle. It's probably harder to do for this, but I'm sure you could. So we're gonna use this kind of ramen. We have mushrooms. I have like 5, 6 mushrooms. But again, with these things, I wrote quantities on the recipe card, but they're all just however much you like. So it's really hard to come up with quantities. I have 1 jalapeno. Again, that's optional. Green onion, in my view, is not optional, but if you don't like onions, I guess that would be also. 2 cloves of garlic, an amount of butter. I think this is a tablespoon, but you can use more, you can use less. Okay, so for the sauces that I usually use, any kind of sesame oil. Sesame oil is wonderful and it's delicious. So I put it in as many things as I can. This is a black sesame oil, but you can use any sesame oil. Sriracha, if you like things to be a little spicy. Hot chili oil. This, in my experience, has been harder to find. So I get this from the Asian supermarkets themselves. I have not seen it in like HEB or Kroger, although those places are also getting better at having some more international sauces and things. And then I use a lower sodium soy sauce, which you can use any soy sauce. Oh, and then roasted sesame seeds. So if you like sesame seeds, you can add them, but this is optional as well. So we are gonna start. I already washed my hands, but I have chili oil on them, so I'm gonna wash them very quickly. You don't wanna see this side of our kitchen. This is the clean side of our kitchen. We're gonna start just by prepping our veggies. So I've got my mushrooms. And what I really like about this is I hate chopping things, vegetables generally. And I'm not in any way, and many of you probably know this, a perfectionist. And so you can chop them however size you like to eat them in your soup, because they're cooking in a broth. We'll saute them first, but ultimately they'll cook further in the broth. So, that's probably not a formal way of cooking, but I rough chop everything that goes into this. So we're just gonna chop up these 6 mushrooms. And also you can trust all of the facts that I told you about the ramen history, because I pulled them from a New Yorker article and a place called Spoon University. So it's very legit information there. I didn't realize that was a thing, but it is. And they've got a ton of good articles. So I am just gonna rough chop these mushrooms. You can use any kind of mushrooms. These are, in my opinion, kind of the most boring. They're Bella, but you can use, like, if you go to the Asian supermarkets, they often have a larger variety of mushrooms. You can use enoki. I've had enoki in ramen. That's been really good. It's the stringy long ones. Any kind that you like, you can use a variety. You can add different kinds, but I'm sticking with the easy, cheap way of making this that is usually just whatever I have in the fridge. All right. This amount actually looks good, so I'm going to stick with 5 and not use this last one. I don't want to add too many things, because this, then it gets kind of like a thicker broth and soup. So I'm going to stick with this. As I've mentioned, I'm pretty lazy, and so when it comes to cooking, I bought matchstick carrots already done. Gemma has spent the morning prepping her veggies like an adult. I just buy kind of the prepackaged where they're available, and that works well. So I'm gonna cut up my green onion. I love green onion, so and you're gonna use both parts, the white and the green. And I'm just gonna slice the green onion. We're gonna use the white parts first. And then we'll kind of take the ends off there. And then we will use the green, and we'll slice a few kind of longer for when it's finished cooking. All right, so that's done. For my jalapeno, I usually seed it because I'm a big weenie and I'm not into this super spicy stuff, but my husband is, but that's too bad. I'll leave the seeds and the ones I'm just going to slice 2 or 3 for the end, and we'll put those aside, and those can have seeds. That's okay. But for the rest, I'm going to gut it. I'll just do this over the trash can. Out. I just got seeds all over the kitchen. Okay, so once they are seeded, you want these to be chopped up pretty small, because I learned from a cooking class, not a cooking school, that I went to, that you're supposed to hold the knife like this. And it's been really helpful over the years because I am clumsy. And so having this gives you a little bit greater control over how you're chopping things. So that has helped a lot. That's from a real chef, not from whatever it is I'm doing. Advice. All right, and then I will just chop these to be pretty small. I also am not seeing the chat, so if any of you have questions, I think hopefully Ali, will you let me know if there are any questions? I mean, I don't think there will be, because it's pretty simple stuff that we're doing. All right, that's all done. The way I'm gonna do the garlic, you just smash it with a knife and then pull off the skin. And take the top off. I'm gonna slice the garlic. I'll do a little funky chop of that. Another one. Skin off. They're a little stickier than they usually are. Did you get your rice in? Okay, so I've got some garlic. I just prep everything first. It's easier that way. All of the veggies are prepped. So I start with my butter. I'm gonna toss this into, it's kind of softened already. We're gonna toss it into the pot. Another thing to point out is you can do this. You can saute your veggies in a separate, like a shallow pan if you want to, and then add it to the soup pot. But I don't like to do that. It's one more dish. So I'll saute everything in here, and then I'll add the water and get it boiling, and then I'll add the noodles. So that's the approach I'm taking, but you can do it either way. So we'll heat up the butter, and I'm gonna do this on a medium to low heat. This is kind of a big burner, so let the butter melt. And that's about a tablespoon of butter. It goes in there, and look at that. Heat it up. While that melts, I'll throw in the scallion. We're going to start with the scallion. So that'll go in first. Get that going slowly. This may have been a bit too much butter, but in my experience, that's never really a bad thing.
No such thing.
There's no such thing as too much butter. Okay, and then we're gonna add, just wanted like a couple seconds, and then you're gonna add the jalapeno. Things that are a little more firm take a little longer to cook. I'm gonna wait on the garlic and the green parts. I'm not gonna add those yet. I like to do it gradually. I don't like to put everything in at once and let it go together, but you can. I think it adds a little bit more depth of flavor if you do it in phases, but it's not a requirement at all. And I let these saute for quite a while, just to get like a deeper flavor. So I just added the mushroom to this. And I'm gonna add, I don't use a ton. Like I said, you don't want it to be too thick when your ramen is done. I'm not adding a lot of water. I am gonna add pepper, but not salt. I'll get a ton of salt in this, definitely. And let that go for a few minutes. Actually, while this is sauteing, Gemma, do you want to show any of so Gemma's pre-boiling the water for her rice, pre-boiling the rice. Do you want to talk about that a little bit? Well, let me get my mask back on.
So usually what I do is before I start my rice, I actually start making all the vegetables. I usually boil my water and have the rice cooked at least 20 minutes before I start my recipe. But today, because of time constraint, I'm boiling the rice now, but I'll show the audience how to do. Is anybody cooking with us today? Yes?
I don't think so. I think
Okay, so that's fine.
we're watching, yeah.
So my rice is now cooking and it has to cook for about 20 minutes. You don't want the rice too soft, but you want it grainy enough so when you fry it with your vegetables, it comes nice and grainy and fluffy.
All right, so now right around this time, you want to start adding some of your flavor into the dish. So I'm going to start with the sesame oil. And just as much as you like, a dash, 2 dashes, whatever feels right. You know, you cook like when you're cooking, you cook with your heart. It's one of the reasons why I can never get my mom. My mom makes amazing Persian food, and it's one of the reasons I can never get her to commit to giving me a recipe for anything. And she's like, well, you know, you add a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and you cook kind of by feeling. Something I'm learning how to do. I'm not quite there, but I'm trying. So that's how you try. You just cook by feeling.
So I would like to add to that too, because when I'm cooking, I cook from the heart and I cook with love. So when Nazli asked me to do this, I had to actually measure everything first and cook it so that I'll have a recipe prepared for the audience. Because cooking to me comes naturally, so I don't follow a recipe. So I hope that when you follow this recipe, it comes out as, it has, come out as delicious as it looks after we finish.
So now is a good time also. You added already sesame oil. We added sesame oil. I'm going to put a spoon of this. If you don't want this to be as spicy, add it early. If you add it early, it has a little bit of time to, it kind of gives off the heat a little better. If you want it to be more spicy, you add it here and then again at the end. So it's completely up to you. Spice level, just kind of go slow. Gauge it from there. Once this is cooked down pretty well, we're not quite there yet, is when we're going to add the soy sauce. So I'm just going to give it a few more minutes here. Oh, now is a good time to add your garlic. You don't want to add garlic too early because it'll burn. It burns easy. Now is about a good time after it's been sauteing for a bit. I'm also going to go ahead and add in a few of the green parts of this onion. This is not the fancy way you add things to a pan, but this is the way that I do it. And that's fine. And you reserve some of those for the end. Getting all colorful in there. So yeah, if you have broccoli, you're going to want to add those in smaller pieces and cook it for a little bit longer. Broccoli always takes a little longer to cook. This is my go-to way of making it. These are the veggies I typically add, but it's a very nice and versatile thing. So there are no rules. Green onion is my only rule. Okay. We added pepper. We added the sesame oil, hot chili oil. You can also at this point put sriracha if you want to. A little bit might be okay. I added at the end, so I'm not going to add a ton. Again, I'm kind of a weenie when it comes to spice, so I don't go crazy. Another thing you can do is you can add sesame seeds if you want to at this stage. I'm just going to top it with sesame seeds. I'm not huge into sesame seeds. I like them and they look nice when you add them to the bowl at the end, but I'm not crazy for it, so I'm not going to add it at this stage. We're getting there. We're getting really close. So I'm just going to do the little bit of soy sauce here, kind of carefully for the flavor. You don't want to go overboard because it can get pretty salty and stuff. Because we are going to use some of the seasoning packet. It's another optional thing, but I like to add at least some. I don't add the whole thing. I add half. half of it because that's also very salty, but I think it just is adds a nice flavor to this. So I like to use it, but just be careful. You can use like a fourth or a half. Let me get my noodle. We're not quite there to add the noodles yet. I just wanted to show you the different packets in here. So it always comes with this veggie. It's called vegetable mix. Take this and throw it into the garbage. You don't need this. You can use it, but I typically don't. It's just dried veggies, but we're adding fresh, so we don't need this. This is the seasoning packet that we will use. Put that aside. And these look pretty good. For time, we'll probably, it smells good, right? Yeah, you guys can't smell the kitchen, but it does smell good. I don't know, what do they always say on the Food Network? It's like spicy and like, it's like a mix of spicy and sweet. I don't know, they always have these descriptive words. Okay, so that's pretty good. If I were making this quickly, I would, and I think, you know, we'll just go ahead and add the water to get it boiling. You can let this go longer. It kind of infuses the flavors a bit more if you have time. I have 2.5, 3 cups of water. You want to add a tiny bit more water than what it calls for because the recipe on here for the ramen, it doesn't take into account the other things you're adding, right? And so it's, if you just have the noodles and the water, I think it's like a little bit less, but then you want to add a bit more when you're using fresh veggies. The other thing I've done with this ramen is I've made it as noodles and it's really good. So if you don't want soup, you can drain the water. You know, you probably saute your veggies in another pan, boil the noodles, cook them, and then drain the water and then mix the veggies in with the noodles and you can serve it like noodles. I've done that before. It's really good. Okay, water is going to go in. And I'm going to get the heat on this to medium high because I want that to boil pretty quickly so that we can get our noodles in there. While your water is boiling, just stir. So while you're getting this done, this is typically when I make the egg. The egg is the best part of this whole thing. I learned how to make a soft-boiled egg from Alton Brown. As many eggs, the eggs that I make, he has taught me so much. So the way that you perfectly soft-boil an egg, no, wait, I want to be in on this. The way that you perfectly soft-boil an egg, it's not by filling your pan with water. You put an inch of water into a small pan, an inch. You know, we in our culture we do the finger test, but I already did. So you've got an inch of water here. And you boil it at medium-high heat. Once it's boiled, you put in an egg for exactly 6.5 minutes. I don't know what the magic is in 6.5, but I time it every time and it comes out perfect. If you want a hard-boiled egg, you can leave it the same method and you leave it from 10, 11, 12 minutes. The more, you know, you want the yolks to be cooked. So I'm going to start that up now so that that'll be done by the time the noodles are done. That's how I kind of time that. Oh, you guys are doing a great job. Okay, Gemma's going to show you some more things while this is going.
So you want to stir your rice, ensure that all is evenly cooked properly. And then you can look at it to see. So I think it's about time to get it out. So I'm going to remove it. I'm going to take the stove off. And normally, if you're cooking with Martha Stewart, you're gonna right. So this is Natalie's kitchen mittens. So I'm going to use this and take my rice off. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this colander and I'm going to pour my rice into colander. Try to get as much out as possible. You want your rice to be room temperature. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the rice to cool in the refrigerator. So when we start my section of the recipe, this rice will be evenly cooled.
Not quite boiling yet on either front. Give it a few minutes. I think Ali said he's cooking along with us. Ali, how's it going? You maybe have to run back.
As yours.
Really?
No, I think I'm having a disaster here.
Why? What happened?
I don't know. I think I put too much water in.
Ah,
No, but you said you can.
more than 3. Yeah, that's okay. How much water did you put? 3 cups? 3 cups is good.
Yeah, I think so. I didn't quite measure it, so I think next time.
That's okay. The other thing I wanted to say is if I'm making this for one, this is a serving of 1, but typically I make this for both of us, and so I just double everything. You do 2, you know, maybe not double the veggies, but you do 2 of everything, 2 eggs, 2, and that's fine. You can upscale the recipe as you need to. Veggie packet goes into the trash. That's where this goes. No offense taken if you want to use it, but I typically don't. Okay, we're almost there on the water. You always want to clean up your station as you go. I don't, but I have a sous chef who's holding the camera who very much disagrees with me. I'm not good with the cleanup of as I go process, but we'll pretend. So we've got our water boiling in our ramen pan and in our egg pot. I cracked this in half. You don't have to. You can leave it full if you'd like, but I think it's a little easier to eat if you do. Put the noodles in. And we're going to turn the heat down to about medium low. And let that go for a bit. I'm gonna put my egg in. I typically drop it in with a spoon because I have broken quite a few eggs doing it a different way. And you want to close this and it'll go for exactly 6.5 minutes. Okay. And this will continue. All right, so while that kind of goes, let's go back to Dr. Caesar. She can show more of the prep work she's doing.
Okay, so I would like to show you the ingredients that I'm using. I use fresh cloves of garlic, fresh ginger, and of course, I didn't plan like my friend Nasli, and I don't use it, but I have whole carrots, organic carrots that I have to shred myself, and celery sticks, and of course, red, green, and yellow bell peppers. I use Uncle Ben rice, but you can use any type of rice that you like because different people have different tastes, and they might not like Uncle Ben, they might like something else, I'm not sure, but I use Uncle Ben rice. For this recipe, you don't have to use rice. You can use noodles, you can use tofu, anything like that. You can change the recipe to suit your palate. What I started doing is cutting up my veggies. So I have the yellow ones already cut, the green and the red, but the recipe calls for 1 yellow, 1 green, and 1 red bell pepper. So what I do is, I don't have any systematic way of cutting it. And I agree with Nasli. You cut it according to how chunky you want it or how you want it to look on your plate. I remember my mom, who I learned to cook from, she said, your food has to look tasty. I don't know how it looks tasty, but she always used to tell me when someone looks at your food, they should say, "Oh, that is looking delicious," instead of tasting delicious. So I don't know if it's an island thing, but and of course,
I feel like so this is International Education Week after all, and I don't know about many other cultures, but in Persian culture in our background, this is a unit of measurement. So if you can quantify this, you'll be good to go.
And actually, I think
this much.
Since Trinidad and Tobago, we have a mixture of culture, Indians, Hispanics. We are very close, 10 degrees from the equator. So African dishes as well. Africans make fufu out of cassava, and we make something that's called farine out of cassava. So it's just a mixture of the culture and how from generation to generation, how the food or the different type of dishes change according to where you're from. Of course, most island people, they usually say a dash of this and a tip of this.
Yeah, that's right.
And so I had to actually decide, learn, okay, you have to have 2 teaspoons of olive oil or 1 dash of cayenne pepper, things like that.
So we just added a little bit of the seasoning packet, about half. So I like to let the noodles cook a little bit in the water before I add this, but very little. I mean, and again, it's to taste. It's quite salty, so if you added a good amount of soy sauce, be careful using this. There's still like this much left of the packet, so I used maybe less than half in here. But you can use more if you like. Just be a bit cautious if you're adding other things that naturally have salt in them. We've got about 2.5 minutes left on our egg. The noodles are cooking. Another thing I'll tell you, when we're boiling this and the lid is not on it, the water is evaporating, right? And so if you're making a soup like this, where the water is evaporating and your noodles are absorbing some of the liquid, you want to make sure you have enough liquid. And one way to do that, to make sure the noodles are cooking well, but your water isn't absorbing, is just monitor your heat, your fire heat underneath the pot. So I turned it down a bit so that the noodles cook a little bit slower, but we retain more of the liquid in the pot. So that's a nice way to make sure that may take a bit longer, but you make sure that you still have some good liquid as you allow the noodles to cook. So we're getting really, really close here. And I'll just let this go until the egg is done, and we'll prep the egg and then we'll serve it up. But we're almost done with our first dish. I told you it's pretty quick. It's pretty quick usually, but as we're going through this and showing how we do it, takes a little bit longer. But generally, it's pretty fast. I've made it for lunch during the pandemic because it's pretty quick. But it's oftentimes for our family. Late night, we're not wanting to order out necessarily, and we don't want to go through a whole big thing of making dinner, and it's later in the evening, and so we'll just make this. It's comforting, it's like warm in the belly, and so this is a go-to for us. Wouldn't you agree?
Very much so.
Yeah. He has no choice. He has to agree. Because I can fire him from this job. No. Okay. We are getting close, people. Now is also a good time if you would like to add a bit more flavoring. You can. That'll be a bit stronger. So I always kind of like to put in just another little. I really like sesame oil, so I add probably way more of this than I need to. But it's good for flavor. I'm gonna hold off on soy sauce. I don't think I need to add any more soy sauce. Chili oil, I'll wait until we serve it up, and sriracha as well. So I just added a tiny bit more of sesame oil, but that is optional. That's the sweet sound of our egg being done. 6.5 minutes exactly. We'll get that off. I'm gonna use a handy mitt. And I'm gonna rinse this in cool water so it stops cooking. Not to look too closely at the sink. We're just gonna rinse this in cold water. If you can handle it, you can feel it. I'm just gonna put that aside for now. All right, so you see the noodles are pretty good there. And the liquid to noodle ratio is about right. You can do, Ali, if you've added more water, that's okay. It'll be a little more soupy. That's not a problem. As you can see, some of it has gone down. The water, the liquid level has gone down. So we're gonna say that that is done. And I always have really bad luck with serving ramen. I get it everywhere. So I'm gonna try my best. But this is how I serve it. So we have a bowl. I'll put it here. Big bowl. And I just use a huge, it's not gonna go well. But and you can adjust, right? If you want it to be soupier, add fewer noodles, add more liquid, however you like it. I'm just gonna add a little more of the broth here. Make sure you get some of the veggies from the bottom. Okay. I'm gonna peel my egg and get that in there. Hopefully this came out okay and it won't just break everywhere. Here's hoping. Sometimes you get a dud when you do eggs, so that's okay too though. They don't have to be pretty. Sometimes if you get like a little skin of the egg, it'll all peel off really nicely. Ah! See, like that can happen. You can break your egg, which is fine. We'll just be very careful. There we go. See, this is the skin I was saying. If you can find that and kind of pull it, it's easier to peel eggs. And then this doesn't happen. You see, it's like a little Pac-Man now. We got to be super careful or we're not going to have an egg. Okay. I warned you at the beginning of this that chef was a strong title for what I truly am. And you joined this anyway. So that's kind of on you. And I'm just going to very gently lay this into the bed of soup here. Like that. And if it doesn't break on you, you can cut it in half. Let me do that anyway. So you can see it kind of oozing out here. I'm going to see if I can do it. Just to see, you can see what it's like. See? It's very soft on the inside. The whites are all cooked. I'm just wanting to kind of see. You can see what that's like. Yours will be better than this, but at least you can kind of get a sense for what it's going to be. After you use the Alton Brown egg cooking method, it'll change your life. And then we're going to add some of the larger green onions you chopped up. Sprinkle on some of the sesame seeds. You can add these before. You can also toast them in a pan to get them like nice and golden-y brown. I didn't do any of those things because, as I said, lazy. But because this is for Matt and he likes the spice, I'm going to add a little more of the chili oil on top.
Thank you.
Like so. And let's get this out here. So all of these things are optional and they will impact the spice level of your ramen. I'm going to add the jalapenos with the seeds in there. And do you want sriracha on top?
No, I'm good. Just
okay,
like that.
we're not gonna add this, but you can also drizzle that on there too. You can add a bit more soy sauce if you like. I recommend trying it before you do that because it can get quite salty. Oh, and I found these at an international supermarket for the broth. I like to use that, and then chopsticks for the noodles. You can also use a spoon and a fork. It's up to you. But this is how we eat ramen at home when we don't feel like going out and getting fancy ramen, but we want to be comforted by some soup and we want it to happen very quickly and pretty inexpensively. So that is what we do. That's ramen. That's your souped up veggie ramen. how you make it. Ali, how's it going over there? Are you having some good success?
I have. I've finished. It's all in my bowl, and I'm eating it.
Send me a did you get hungry? Send me a picture.
I'll send you a picture.
Okay. All right. So that is ramen. I'm gonna hand it off to Dr. Caesar, and she will walk through it, and I'll be your sous chef.
So before I start, I think you need to get the lettuce and tomato. So that when we finish.
make the dish. Okay, cool.
Okay. So in my recipe, it calls for 2 carrots. I've already grated one, and I'm going to grate the other carrot for you. So you can use any, like I mentioned earlier, if you want to dice it, or you want to shred it, or you want to buy it already shredded at the grocery, you can do so. I have never ventured into those aisles, so but you can certainly try it. I'm going to do this really quickly. And as I mentioned earlier, if you don't like carrots and you want to use maybe mushrooms or broccoli or any other vegetables that you like, you can do so. I think this is a nice dish to make for Thanksgiving, or if you have a couple of friends coming over. It's very inexpensive. And you can use this along with a side salad, and maybe, as I mentioned, maybe grilled shrimp or baked chicken, or some people like pork chops. You can do anything like that.
Dr. Caesar, when would you add the chicken or tofu if you were going to make the?
Oh, this will be a separate dish.
Okay.
So some people like to add chicken while they're cooking the rice. You can do that. You'll have to have your chicken seasoned and maybe sauteed and sauteed before you put in your vegetables, because the chicken will take a longer time to cook than the vegetables. You'll add it when you're adding those ingredients. Also, I use fresh garlic, and of course I grated my garlic before, but if you would like, I'm just going to show you how to do 2 of them. Nasli found that this was difficult, but
I had a great struggle. I had a hard time with the grating.
but I think it's quite easy. So she was taking like 5 minutes to grate 1 garlic, and I'm like, okay, give it back to me.
I got tired.
Right. And I use a lot of raw ginger in everything that I'm cooking, everything. When I'm making, let's say I'm making baked chicken, I season my chicken with ginger. And also, it's not in this recipe, but I also use Angostura bitters a lot. Angostura bitters originated from Trinidad and Tobago. I think many years ago, I read there were only like 6 countries in the world that makes Angostura bitters. So I don't know if that has increased. I also use dry cranberries at the end. If you don't like cranberries, and maybe you like raisins or, I don't know, raspberries, you can use whatever dry fruit that you like. And I also use cayenne pepper for a little bit of spice, not too much. So, and again, you measure 2 cups of rice. You parboil rice, you cook your rice before. I'm going to start now by putting my pan on the stove.
That's the pan on your way.
Am I using the right one?
That's the back burner.
Which one is it? And you know that garlic cooks really, really quickly. You don't want it to get too dark. So I will put it on really, really slow, low heat. And as you're using olive oil.
Do you want it all the way on low, or do you want it on medium?
No, medium low.
Okay,
right,
okay, good.
Because of time.
Mhm.
So, right. And I'm going to use olive oil. Okay, where's my olive oil?
The middle one.
Okay. So Nasli has a variety of oil here, avocado oil, canola oil. I am an olive oil lover,
Just gonna
so
pop off the lid real quick.
okay.
I've done it before too.
Okay, I'm just
Here,
gonna
let me-
take this off, right? And you can measure like about two tablespoons of oil. I think that's about 1 and 2. Don't want to put too much oil because you don't want it to be too oily or greasy. And I'm going to add my ginger now. And you don't want it to burn, so you're going to wait a little while. So when it starts sauteing, then I'll add in my garlic. See? I'm not sure if you can see it already sauteing. One of the things when you're cooking with ginger and garlic, when you combine the two, it smells so, so good. We'll cook it for like a minute or two until it's light brown or golden brown. I wish that we had some students here cooking with us. It would be fun, right?
Everything looks good, Dr. Caesar.
Oh, thank you. No, I know if I had my sous chef with me, Mr. Holiday, he will have this kitchen with a lot of fun.
And what
singing.
am I? What am I in all of this equation?
It looks
He will be
good.
singing- He will be singing all the ingredients. I am going to add my celery now because I think celery is a little bit more coarse than because I've shredded my my carrots. So I'm going to add my celery first. And you want to cook your celery for about 2 minutes. And if you can see, you can still see oil at the bottom of your pot, so you don't have to add more oil. You keep stirring so you can have an even color. Guys, this is smelling so good. I know that Nasli's dish also smells really great too, but this house smells like Christmas. One of the things you don't want to do is you don't want to overcook your vegetables. You want to make sure that it's cooked, it's a little bit crunchy, but not raw.
Will you guys be providing a delivery service when you're done?
So you have to pre-order. If you pre-order
now.
Good to know. Good to know.
We decided to end on the rice dish as kind of the high notes. Yeah, I was the opener with my ramen, and Gemma will be the closer because this is a real cooking dish. The dog got evicted, so I'm just gonna give her some water as she's outside.
I'm just adding a little bit more red bell peppers. So I'm going to add my carrots now. And carrots cook really, really quickly. So my sous chef went to get her dog some water. So I'm going to wait till she returns to add my. Now, the thing about this is you can add any type of seasoning according to your taste, your palate, right? Some people, they use fried rice seasoning. You can get it at the grocery. Some people use Creole seasoning like me. I make my own green seasoning and I use my own green seasoning. Today I'm going to use Creole seasoning, right? And I'm also going to add the bell peppers. And if the cameraman can turn to how beautiful this looks with your red, green, and yellow bell peppers. And I'm going to add that. Bell pepper cooks really, really quickly. So you don't want to keep it in too long. Because you also have to add the rice.
This is what the green seasoning looks like. The gentleman made this huge batch for me and then taught me how to use it for chicken. It's really good. It smells really nice.
So I use green seasoning in everything. I just buy my green seasoning like green onions, parsley, cilantro, different type of thyme. I buy that in the grocery and I blend it up together and I use fresh garlic and ginger and I also use a little bit of hot pepper. What else? Where's my Creole seasoning, chef? I didn't see it.
I think it's up in the cabinet.
Oh. So for those of you who are cooking along with me, my heat is still on medium low. Did not have to change the heat because again, now I usually add about 2 tablespoons according to how much rice I'm doing. So, because I did not put any salt in the rice to cook it. So this seasoning here, Creole seasoning, it has already salt in it, so you don't want to use salt again. One of the things you want to, when you're cooking this type of dish, you want to make sure that you savor each taste, each bite. You don't want anything to be overpowering. You don't want to have too much salt. You don't want to have too much of anything. And if you look at this, you see how nice and beautiful it's looking. Okay. So I'm going to add my rice now. Ooh, nice.
It smells so good.
So remember, I cooked my rice a little bit earlier. So now you see how nice and grainy it is. And I had it in the refrigerator cooling for about 20 minutes while Nazli was making her dish. So it's nice and grainy. You stir it in. You don't stir it in too much. Make sure that your vegetables is evenly distributed.
And did you only add some of the rice so you can check the ratio?
Yeah. I'm going to add all the rice, but I like to add a little at a time, like half the amount. And I'm going to use some of Nazli soy sauce. You don't have to. But I can use a little bit of it. Again, it's optional. Nazli will be delivering if you're within a 5-mile radius.
I will, that's right. We have to receive payment first.
Dr. Caesar, what kind of rice is this?
So I use Uncle Ben rice, Uncle Ben parboiled rice, but you can use, I think there's one that's called adobo rice, or I just don't use the white rice. I use basmati rice a lot. Normally I will use basmati rice to do this, but I just use Uncle Ben rice today. And if you like to, some people use sesame oil. You don't have to, but I'm going to add a little bit. I'm going to cheat a little bit. Now, for those of you who are following a diet and you want to have less calories or less carbs, You can add, yeah, just in a minute. Just yeah, you can add it. You can add more vegetables, right? It doesn't have to be, sometimes it'll be more veggie than rice. This one is like equal amount, right? And the last thing I'm going to put in is my cranberries. So some people might find this is too much cranberries, but I think it's just enough. So every spoon of rice that you eat, and I'm going to turn this fire off now because the pot already is heated. You don't want it to cook too much. On Sundays in Trinidad and Tobago, you can bet that everybody's home, they're cooking this veggie rice, right? When you go to a Trini home, we call it, when you go to a Trini home, you are going to eat veggie rice with spinach, which we call callaloo. Jamaicans call it callaloo, and baked chicken and a salad. So this is what it looks like when it's finished. You can see the cranberries, the red peppers, the green peppers, the carrots, everything. You can see that. I am going to serve it on a plate. We had already had the plate already out. So this is my Trini rice, veggie rice, Trini style, quite delicious. And I'm going to do a matter stewed for you guys. I'm going to taste it. So good.
So good.
But really, guys, this is so delicious. You can taste the crunchiness of the veggies in your rice. Just enough pepper, just enough carrots. Can
we switch dishes?
Oh, and it is so good.
Another
thing on point.
I did not put any cayenne pepper. I don't really use a lot of pepper, and I had in my recipe is optional. But people like Matt who likes pepper, he can add a little bit of pepper. But guys, this is so delicious. You have any questions? We're ready for questions.
We're ready for questions. We've got, you want to go on the other side? Maybe we can come right over here. Because we have 20 minutes to spare.
Oh, I was so quick.
All right. Who's got questions?
I have a question for Dr. Caesar. In regards to like the rice, like, could you just eat this by itself, or could you pair this with like chicken or something else, or is it just for like, this is like specifically for vegetarians, or you could just eat it how you want to?
You can eat it how you want to. Some people eat it with curry shrimp. Some people eat it with baked chicken, fried chicken, anything that you prefer to have it with. My mom is a vegetarian, and she eats hers like this. And sometimes she adds fish to it. She likes salmon, so she grills salmon, and she has a nice slice of salmon on the side. It looks really delicious. So
it tastes really good. I'm sorry y'all aren't here because it is very good.
If you are making this dish, like for one person, I will advise to make 1 cup of rice or even half cup of rice. For me, I can make this. I don't have to freeze it. You can put it in your refrigerator and you can have it. For those of you who like rice like me, you can have it every day. It's not really fattening because you have a lot of veggies in this and less carbs.
But clearly we're no stranger to carbs.
You can tell.
Could you make this rice dish in a rice cooker with all the ingredients in together?
So there are different types of rice cookers. I know the one that I have at home is one of those ancient ones. Somebody gave it to me when I got married, and which was 26 years ago. And I only started using it 2 years ago. So that's to tell you, I was boiling my rice the normal way, 2 cups of water, 1 cup of rice. And my sister came by and she said, why are you using that and you have a rice cooker? And I'm like,
Would you do
duh.
the veggies separately and then add
But
them?
yeah,
the rice
so
cooker?
with a normal rice cooker, I don't think, like the one that I have at home, I don't think it would work. But there is now, I saw it on
Instant Pot?
Instant Pot. So Instant Pot, you can cook your rice, and then you, of course, you're gonna have to pour out your rice, have it cool, and then cook your veggies in the Instant Pot and add your rice. But if you're using a rice cooker, you'll have to know when, you wouldn't saute your vegetables, right? You're gonna just have to know when to add it in. And I'm not as modern as those new ways of cooking. So it's really quick. Nasli said that we had 20 minutes. I did mine in like about 35 minutes. Yeah, and normally it takes about 45 minutes. So because I prepped the veggies before.
Ahead of time.
I want to know when you guys are going to be cooking.
Back? Sorry.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I wonder, when are you guys going to do it again with something else? Because this was great. I'm ready for the next dish. Level 2.
Actually, Christy, I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about curry chicken, because a lot of people now eating a lot of curry, because now they're saying that curry is so good, it's so healthy for you. So I was telling Nasli, maybe we could do curry chicken together, and maybe lentil peas, because those things are healthy ways of cooking, and you could, and it's simple. It doesn't take that long at all.
Curry chicken is my favorite.
Oh, really? All right, so then you will join us. We will send the recipe ahead of time. And now, instead of using potatoes in your curry chicken, you can use chickpeas, because chickpeas is really healthier, and it's, you know, full of proteins, and you can use that as well.
So I just want to point out, Dr. Caesar has been, she's been guiding me through cooking for many weeks now. And we were cooking something, and I showed her, I said, oh, I have seasoning salt, so like, can I use this? And she looked at me and she said, never buy that again.
You know,
she is truly like the expert. But
well,
if Ali will have us back, we would love to continue.
The reason why she's quite young, and she has a 1-year-old. She just celebrated her first birthday. And when you look at the back of this, it's 270 milligrams of salt.
Delicious.
So I said, these people are fooling you, because there's only salt in here, right? And I was teaching my great niece yesterday about minerals, and they said that salt can be good and dangerous. So here it's dangerous.
So don't ever buy this again, people. You learn the lesson here.
Because remember, when both of the dishes that we made today, we didn't use a lot of salt. And if you have an opportunity to really taste this, you really don't need the salt, because it's so delicious without salt.
Yeah.
Right? You get, your palate changes.
Can we give one more tip? Something
Yeah.
else I learned from you?
Okay.
Tut, can you tell them how to wash chicken? I was so excited. Okay, I'm 33, I'm almost 34 years old. This was the first I learned how you're supposed to wash chicken.
So, you know, I am not a chef. I didn't go to chef school or whatever, culinary school. And sometimes I watch television and I look at how they make cake. I like to make cake and cookies and bread. And the people who win usually are the ones who say, oh, I learned to cook in my mom's kitchen. So that's me. One of the things that I do is I know people buy their chicken from the grocery and it says, okay, it's ready to cook. For me, it's not ready to cook, right? So what I do is in a small pot, in a small pan, I have my chicken breast or whatever part of the chicken you're using, and I add a little bit of lemon juice and Angostura bitters. If you don't have Angostura bitters, go to Specs, a plug for Specs, and get a small bottle today, or HEB. And
we do not condone the drinking of any kind. We just, for cooking.
Yeah, but Specs has all the type of international seasoning and crackers and everything that you want, right? So I use maybe a pot spoon of water, and I kind of clean my chicken, for want of a better word. And I leave it and I let it saute there for about 10 to 15 minutes. And then I season my chicken with my green seasoning that Nasli showed you a while ago. And you can put any other type of seasoning that you like, right? Another thing that I cook a lot with is with capers and olives. So for those of you who like olive and capers, you can add it to this rice. So it will be your Christmas rice because it has olives and capers.
Yeah. So you guys said curry chicken for our next good dish. What other lowbrow recipe would you like for me to make as part of our next cooking series? Let me know.
Maybe we could do a dessert for the next one in the spring.
Oh, okay.
Do you have any good dessert?
I have a question for Nasli.
Sure.
Ramen, I've been to many different types of like ramen places. You can add like your own protein to this, correct? Like chicken or something else to it.
Absolutely, anything you like. So I know a lot of when you go get it at the restaurants, a lot of the popular ramen is made with pork. I don't cook with pork unless it's like bacon and pepperoni. Just I don't have a lot of. I think do you make a lot of pork? No, not really, right?
Yeah.
It's not a big thing in our culture, and so we don't really make a lot. I mean, those things are kind of American that we do eat. But yeah, you can use pork if you have a pork chop or something. Even you can slice it up and put it in there, and it'd be good. Different protein.
Or
Sausage, chicken. Chicken is I've done chicken before. Oh, one thing I will tell you. So you know how when you're cooking any recipe and where there's water, typically if you substitute chicken broth, it works really well and it's like enriching the flavor. I do not recommend that for this recipe. I made it with chicken broth using that same logic one time. It was gross. I don't know why. I don't know if it's like the seasoning packet mixing in with the broth that didn't turn. I didn't love it. You might try that and you may feel differently, but.
So she and I disagree about this broth thing, right? Because when we were making soup, she said, should I get a carton of chicken broth? I'm like.
But you like my soup.
Yeah, I did.
But I use chicken broth in that soup.
So I told her I've never used chicken broth before, but if she wants to, she can. And I came over to taste this soup that we did, earlier in the day, and it did taste really, really good, really good. She got 5 stars.
5 stars. You hear that? Not just lowbrow things. 5 stars. I've never tried the ramen with beef. You may do like flank steak in there, and that may be good. I've not tried it, but it's something if you have more time, for sure.
I think a lot of people don't like really sweet things. So maybe if we are thinking about making a dessert, we have to try to come up with something that is not too sweet, but something that, the students can make and enjoy.
Yeah.
Maybe cookies, healthy cookies. We'll see.
We'll see. Send us your idea.
Right. But I like the idea of curry chicken though.
This will be our very own great British Bake Off series that we're going to start here.
Yes, in our department, at least, we have a wonderful baker, Dr. Leah Campbell.
Oh.
We bully her into making all kinds of cakes and sweets for us. So that she may be a great person to rope into this. Yeah.
Is there a student online with us?
There's a few.
Any student, do you have a question for us, a comment?
Well, I'm a student and that dish, it looks awesome, especially for like not meat.
Right, yeah.
Meat. Yeah. Usually I have a trouble like to cook and I was like, no, that looks awesome and yummy.
Very good.
Both of them really look nice though. They both look nice. So this is the first time I've been on a cooking show. So
we welcome your feedback.
Yeah. And what I think Ali decided is that next time we will go into UHD and have them transform the studio into a kitchen.
I mean, Matt's done a wonderful job as our camera. I'd like to just thank our cameraman.
Yeah,
He's
really
come
great.
into his own as a new skill and this the kind of a thing. And so
And then he gets to taste
he
everything.
gets to eat all of the
That's the best part.
This could be a new career for you.
There you go. Stop this whole architecture thing.
Yeah. But I think so. Ali and the office of study abroad ordered us these really nice ones. So I think we have to do a few more to earn our keep. And
yeah, these are really, really nice. Yeah, I keep looking away from the camera because we have two
We have two.
We have two, so I'm looking at the wrong one.
I
all
also
the
just
time.
want to thank Ali. I always like to give him a plug, but thank you for allowing us to annoy you and pester you into letting us do this. It was really fun for us. I hope, the students and staff and everyone on the call got something from this, if not just an hour away from dealing with everything else going on in the world. So thank you so much, Ali. I think he's just, I always brag about you because you've just done such an amazing job, I think, in a pandemic, and your whole office revolves around travel.
Right.
And so being able to pull in really creative and unique. This idea actually came out of a joke, I think, because you had that really cool cooking class from Thailand that was like a formal, actually in a cooking school. And I think we were in a meeting and I said, well, I make a really mean ramen, and you took notes. And I was then like, oh, you're serious about this. Okay. But just, you just done such an awesome job over the last 9 months of creating these kind of unique, different experiences that have to be virtual in this pandemic. And so thank you for all that you do, for letting us kind of come into your space. And
if you all know Nazli like me, she smiles a lot, but she's a born ruler. And when she wants something done, she ensures or make it happen, as my boss will say. She makes it happen. So she's like, Gemma, would you like to cook a dish with me? And I'm like,
do you have any regrets?
Oh, do you have any simple recipes? And I was like, oh yeah, quickly. Oh yeah, we could do this. And she said, okay, so I can put your name down. I thought I was making something and bringing it to the school. I didn't know that I signed up for this type of stuff, right? I didn't even know I had to go on the web and look up the origin of rice until this morning when it was too late.
It was so good though.
Yeah,
so
but
thank you so much.
Thank you
to
to IR department, Nazli and her team, for adopting me as one of the members of their staff. And I feel always honored to do things with you guys.
We feel the same.
Actually, a plug for the international office. I really like what you do. I think the students appreciate coming from another country and coming to America. A lot of people think it's so easy to get acclimated to the environment, and it's not. So having things like this for your international student who their parents are away and they're here by themselves is really, really wonderful. One of the things I used to do many years ago, I would invite an international student to my house for Christmas or for Easter. But of course, this year, because of the pandemic, those things are not happening anymore. But so I shout out to the International Student Office and keep on doing what you're doing. International students, they pay a lot of money to be here to get their education. And we know the social part of it is also important so that they can do well. And a plug for the Gator Success Center, we do everything well. So thank you again from Nazli.
Thank you guys so much.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Chef Caesar and Chef Dyer. That was an amazing hour and 20 minutes that you did your wonderful dishes. I did enjoy my ramen. Actually very wonderful. I did take a picture which I will email to you.
Okay.
I don't think we've got one more question. I think Christy's got a question. Do you make Johnny cake?
Is she asking Nazli that question?
I'm not sure.
No,
Gemma, you know who I'm asking that question to.
So Johnny cake comes from the Caribbean islands that are closer to America, Miami. They call it Johnny cake. For us in Trinidad and Tobago, on the islands a little bit lower down to South America, we call it bake. And it's sort of like Johnny cake. It's the same thing. The texture is a little bit different. And the answer to that is yes, I do.
Inquiring minds just wanted to know for future reference.
Oh, also Christy is an excellent baker. And so you will also probably at some point get roped into this. So anything goes.
Right.
So.
Well, I promised to show Jason how to make bread. So maybe one day when I'm making bread, I'll have my Zoom camera and then he can make it along with me. I do not have a bread maker. I do not have a bread maker.
I've never made bread.
And I don't intend to buy one.
Excellent. I'll only participate if I also get an apron.
Aprons are mandatory now.
Yeah, this was our idea.
It can say Chef Caesar and Chef Dyer. I just want one.
I need a home.
I'm so
Okay, well-
jealous I didn't get one now.
I guess
Yeah, you should be jealous. They're wonderful and like they're very high quality. And we have pockets. Like you can just, you
Yeah.
know, you never know when you're gonna need a spoon. Just stick it right in there.
And
Handy.
Nasli mentioned earlier, we really did all the precautionary measures. We wiped down, we washed, we had everything really prepared well. We wore a mask, we social distance, you know, as much as possible. And I think everything's fine.
So
All
stay
right.
safe. Have fun.
Thank you, everyone. And
You're welcome.
we'll see you for the next segment of Cooking with Cesar and Nasli.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks so
Can
much.
you take a picture?
Of the rice? Oh, sure.
Well, a picture with you. Well, maybe
Oh,
Matt can
oh.
do it.
Somebody has
I've
to
stopped
take
recording, so you can
you
take
have your
it.
phone handy and your other
So we
stuff.
can put it on social media, and we'll probably try and get this into the newsletter too. Make it so we'll make sure people
Did you get my
Yeah.
spoon? It's really important
get
that
the
they see
spoon,
this.
get the aprons, get the dishes.
Okay, we'll take a couple after this call. And,
Yeah.
and send
Thank
them.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Awesome time.
Thank you.